But you know what it means to, you know what, hold on, Eddie, you know what being sober means, right? So let me ask you, I'm gonna ask you this too. Do you think us as a people can afford to not be sober in this society? No. Why not?
It clouds our judgment and everything else, our decisions and everything.
Okay, that's true, right? And if our judgment is clouded in this society, what can happen to us?
Walk down the wrong path.
We'll walk down the wrong path. Give me an example. Be more specific what you mean. What you mean by that? Addiction. You hearing this, George? Listen. Crimes.
You got people going on the internet, stuff like that. A bunch of the bad.
So all these things, right? These things are not benefiting us, but these things are diminishing us as a people and as a nation. Correct? Is that correct to say, right?
Yes.
So what I was showing this brother George, right? This brother George said he wants to get into the kingdom of heaven. What we're doing is we're teaching our people the Bible, and that the Bible is for us, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But we were never taught that, because when we got conquered and we went into slavery, and when we were taught the Bible, it was all through the eyes and the lens of the people who conquered us. The so-called white man, which the Bible calls Esau, right?
Yes.
What they have done to our society, right? They have done crafty counsel and making sure that we never rise up to becoming a strong nation. Because have you ever heard about the Aztec Empire? You have? What about you, George? The Aztec Empire? So that was known to be a mighty nation. The things that they created, the monuments, the society, and how they ran, it was a great nation. But they did one thing that was a mistake, and is what we're teaching our people, right? They broke God's commandments. And now, by us breaking God's commandments, as I'm going to show you, right, we are suffering as a society. My brother George right here just said he recently relapsed from doing drugs. Okay? So, what I'm showing George, right, read that again for him. 1 Peter 5 and 8.
This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober.
So we're telling him, according to God, we have to be sober. We have to be clear-minded to make those right judgments when in this society. Because the society is looking to tear us down as a people. We see that day to day by the neighborhoods that they put us in, by the crime rate, the drugs that they put in our society. Us as a people are separated from our families. Let me ask you something, right? You pay attention to, George. What do you think is happening down here at the border?
A lot of kids being separated from their families.
A lot of kids being separated from their families, right? You have a nation divided cannot stand?
Hallelujah.
Okay, so give me Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32. So think about it. If we are generating kids, right, and we start to break those families apart, what do you think that's going to do to a family? Particularly the next generation.
Set them up for failure.
It's setting up for failure. Why?
Because it wasn't a good foundation.
There you go. The children are not being grown up in a good foundation, right? So by them separating the families, the mothers and fathers from the children, now when the children grow up, they don't know how to move and maneuver in the society. Then they're more susceptible to what? Drugs, alcohol, crime, gangs, violence. We're more susceptible to these things. But if we actually if we actually kept God's commandments, this would never have happened. Read that.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself.
So if a kingdom is divided against itself, and different religions and different philosophies and different ways they're supposed to be living, right? What's going to happen to that kingdom? What do you think is going to happen? Read.
And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand.
That kingdom cannot stand. When you separate families, you're creating a stumbling block for that nation to rise up. It's not a coincidence what's going down at the border as family being separated. It's not a coincidence why that is happening to our people. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32. God said that if we broke his commandments, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we were going to be cursed. All right? That's what we're showing our people. Give me 15 first and then go to 32. Well, I didn't ask you first. What's your nationality? You're okay, so you're Mexican accent. Okay, all right. The Bible, are you familiar with the Bible at all?
Yeah, a little bit, not much.
Not much, okay. Have you ever seen Mexican, Latino, Hispanic in the Bible?
I've never seen I'm pretty sure it's in there.
No. I've heard term Mexican.
Oh,
Latino.
the term Mexican and Latino. No.
Exactly. So where would you all fall when it comes to the Bible? Because the Bible deals with nations.
Right.
The Bible deals with nations.
Right.
So there's nations that their names are in this Bible. So Mexican, Chicano, Latino, Hispanic is not in here. Where would you fall under? That's what happened to us.
Right.
When we were conquered and went into slavery, not only were we killed, robbed, beat, and murdered, they stripped us of the most important thing that would keep us as a people together.
Right.
Our identity.
Right.
And that's the first thing that you need to know about yourself. Because when you have no identity, if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going.
Right.
And so the Bible teaches us who we actually are. And I'm gonna prove it. Read it.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
We're to Moses, right? Moses. So Moses right here is speaking to the children of Israel he saved them from Egypt. Okay?
Right.
So we said, but it shall come to pass if you will not hearken. Hearken just means to listen.
Right.
Right? Read.
If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So God said curses will fall upon us for what?
Right.
For not following his commandments, right? So let me ask you something. Do you think us as a people do what the Bible says in keeping God's commandments?
No, not everyday people, man.
No, as a whole, we don't, right? So now, with that, right? God said for not doing that, specific curses was going to happen to us, solely on us for not doing those things. Read that.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
What's happening to our sons and daughters at the border right now?
That same very thing right there.
We're being given to who? Strangers. That's exactly what the Bible calls them. Strangers, other people that are not us. That happened throughout history. In slavery, when we were sold on auction blocks, this woman right here, she would be a so-called Native American woman. Their children, the so-called Mexicans, they were sold on auction blocks too, along with the so-called blacks. In history, this was constant. This is when they first destroyed us as a people by separating our families. Right? Read that again.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
That's one, right? That's happening to our people. Read.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
You see the faces? Have you ever seen the expression on a parent's face who gets separated from their children?
Distraught.
It's distraught. It's destroying. That's just like any of us. If our children were taken away from us, we would be destroyed for that thing. That's what's happening right now. That is proof. Read that again. Oh, continue reading.
And there shall be no might in thy hand.
So God said we will not have no might, no strength in our hand to do anything about it. No military strength, because it's Mexico fighting to get their people over here that have been separated. Are they doing that? No. Economically, do we as a people come together and try to finance and buy our kids out of these shelters? Do we politically have power to make laws to establish stop having our children in these cages? We don't have none of those powers. We don't have any power to get our children back from those cages that they're doing. CPS, you know what CPS is? They take our children. ICE, you know what ICE is? They take our children. They have systems in place to take our own children away. And who is that being? Who are the people that are being most affected of those things?
Bring it up.
People of color, specifically who though?
Blacks and browns.
Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Do you see Chinese people going through these things? Is it blasting with Japanese people going through these things? What about the Arabs, the Indian people? Why is it only us?
Bring it up.
It's because God said that was going to happen. When we were taught this Bible, we were taught it as a religious book, a fairy tale book. No one ever came into these scriptures and showed us read the scriptures and gave us examples that this book is actually true.
Bring it out.
No one has ever taught that. But that's why we're here. We're here to teach our people the things that are written in this Bible are true. It's because it's our history book.
Right.
It's a book that's going to help identify us to the things that are going on today and how to get out of those situations.
Right.
We used to scream Black Power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.